Nobody asked me for the truth, save I am in my listens for feels lately of this is what it is as far as I may be making sense of it at any rate. That were I to other than put it out there, presently anyways, there may be dangers side reel to the Fayire that even our big brother may be hard-pressed to protect any of us from. When I was a teenager, realizing that there was a sum of body in the environmental consensus at an active antithesis to paths of successfulness I was called to, I had created, quietly in my mental space, a kind of alter ego that was born from the womb of this struggle through perception. Now, this alter ego, I believe, only a very select few have become aware of. And of those select few, I have my doubts any of them whom know the name of this alter ego took on outside of my psyche. I am hereby sharing its name because I have honestly felt a very, you could say, threatening presence of being in the periphery of my liveliness. And no, I'm other than intimating regards here about that tall, pale being who writhed its long, gangly fingers through the top of my skull's brain pan in siphoning what I believe may be a slight addiction it may have with interacting with DMT molecules. I am other than the only one who has noticed this other being besides the 13 or so foot tall, pale being. While walking near a crop of evergreens one evening with some close acquaintances of mine at the time, I heard a super strange, foreign to the norm sound of a kind of seethe or screechy sort of hiss at me from about 15 feet up in the canopy of one of the trees near us. Well, under the canopy, because it was a tall tree. Now, it was twilight. Excuse me. Something's grabbing my throat about this reading. I'm sweating it now, all of a sudden. Now, it was twilight. Towards the dark end of dusk in this area, as the powers of Nyx were thickening the soup of the growing darkness, and when I swiveled my head for a visual investigation, all that could be discerned was the edges of the evergreen branches around the darkness disguising any view of the trunk beyond them. Our party had other than slowed our gait of canter. So as we kept walking, I turned to the member of our small party group nearest me and asked if they had heard what I had. They said yes. I said that it didn't sound normal, and they agreed again. Suffice to say, we went on with our walk on the sidewalks between buildings in that area, and circled back eventually to our placement from departure. Now here's the challenging part of this explicative that relates to the name of my alter ego and why I have decided to share its name with you. Jim Carrey had an alter ego he would assume at times by the way that called himself Oscar Tony. Or maybe it's somebody else. During his meditations in between acting parts he would play. And there is more than enough evidence, for me at any rate, to believe this exposes him as being possibly none other than, or at least deeply inspired by, the actor Andy Kaufman. who was the acting mechanic from the TV show back in the day, 80s? Known as Taxi. I'm sharing this as other than just to comfort you and myself, as there are others out there with the knowledge that I am not alone in having birthed an alter ego to strengthen my character and stage presence amongst our peers. Perhaps it's weirdly funny my mom always told me she felt I could play a villain in the movies flawlessly. So, also, to avoid any use of this knowledge to be used in any way to tarnish or bring undue blemish to our characters' moral standing in virtue of superstition amidst the very poignant placebo upheld by a societal consensus. If you'd like to know more about this, you may care to read the book by Bob Zmuda and Lynn Margulies, titled Andy Kaufman, The Truth, Finally. Now, as of about 1 or 2 years ago, while alone, when I witnessed the navy blue and ink black inhuman face of the being I believe later on to have made that sound from up in the thicket of those trees as we were passing by, heard by one other member and me of our walking group, is the driving reason spurring me to share the name of this alter ego of mine. As it was birthed many years ago now, as I said, when I was 17 or so, to protect me from a negatively charged air I'd felt railing against me through weakened areas of the consensus of life, planet whole and wide. It is my hope and theory that by reading the name backwards, you may comprehend and possibly even understand the natures of its creation. And how it was born to protect not only yours truly, save and untangled of others as well. The name of this particular boomerang of persona is I later wrestled with the spelling of the last part of the name, and one or more may discern reasons for that, save settled on the original as felt overcomplicating its place within community would be tenuous at best, so had decided to leave it as a relative unknown. This servitor offshoot of me, do trust, is only being exposed for the capabilities held furthering ideals to protect and nurture. And again, if this tree falls in the woods with no one around to hear it, would it be making waves?